Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and today I'll be doing a commentary on The Punisher, released in 2004, directed by Jonathan Hensleigh and starring Thomas Jane. Now, The Punisher was basically my first introduction to the character, alongside his appearance in Spider-Man the Animated Series, developed by John Semper Jr. And, well, this movie was pretty much my first introduction when it came to live action. So I am no stranger to the gun-toting, villain-killing anti-hero. But one thing you really need to remember, the Punisher is not a superhero. I mean, from the point of view of other heroes like Captain America and Spider-Man, the Punisher is pretty much a villain. And, well, I'm kind of looking forward to talking about this movie. Now, one of the interesting facts is that, development for the live-action Punisher film began in 1997. But, of course, this isn't the first time that a live-action Punisher movie was made with Thomas Jane. Oh, no. The first official live-action Punisher movie was released in 1989, starring Dolph Lundgren. And technically, it is the first R-rated Marvel movie ever made. But the problem with that is, The Punisher in 1989 was released straight to DVD in the United States. However, internationally, it was released in theaters. But since it's technically straight to DVD, I don't plan on doing a commentary for that. Especially since, it's the least faithful to the character. Pretty dumb, you know? And Yep, Aru Krieg. Sounds like a trustworthy fellow. But yeah, so as I mentioned in my commentary to the 2003 Hulk movie, Jonathan Hensleigh wanted to direct the original Hulk movie that would become the 2003 movie directed by Ang Lee, especially due to the fact that one of the movie's producers was Gail Ann Hurd of Valhalla Motion Pictures. And, Gail Ann Hurd is Jonathan Hensleigh's wife. And beforehand, Jonathan Hensleigh started out as a screenwriter, most notable for writing films such as Jumanji and Armageddon. So, yeah, he was a very well-known screenwriter. And, Hensleigh is such a big comic book fan and had such ambitious ideas for the Hulk movie. However, due to the budget ballooning, and Hensleigh being an inexperienced director, they ended up wanting to go with his Jumanji collaborator, Joe Johnston. I think it's pretty funny that Hensleigh and Johnston ended up directing their own Marvel movies. Personally, I'm more in favor of Captain America, the First Avenger, over The Punisher. I mean, it's just my opinion, you know? Uh-oh. You've been ratted out, boys. Now, Jonathan Hensleigh was dismayed before filming began when he learned that he wasn't going to be given sufficient budget for a top-flight action movie. He felt he needed in the region of $64 million, but was only given $30 million instead. This resulted in Hensleigh having to rewrite a lot of his original script to accommodate this reduction in budget and shooting schedule, especially since The Punisher took around 52 days to film. I mean, for a first-time director at the time, Jonathan Hensleigh did a pretty decent job, for the most part. I mean, I wouldn't have known that this was a directorial debut. Of course, the original film without any cuts was around 2 hours and 56 minutes. That's 4 minutes shy of 3 hours. Amazing. You're going to need some therapy. Oh no, not Bobby. We hardly knew him. It's 1:37 a.m. Do you know where your child is at 1:37 a.m. in the morning? Oh no, he's a zombie! You should have double tapped him! Just kidding. Yep, that's Frank Castle, everyone. I mean, that's definitely one way to introduce a character. Now, before being cast in the titular role, Thomas Jane turned down the role of the Punisher, believing he did not see himself as a superhero actor. Hugh Jackman, who's best known for playing Wolverine, was also offered the role of the Punisher, but he turned it down in favor of working on Van Helsing. When Thomas Jane got the part, he prepared by reading as many Punisher comics to understand the character, and he trained for 6 to 7 months with U.S. Navy SEALs, gaining 20 pounds of muscle. And allegedly, he was Hensley and Avi Arad's only choice for the role. And of course, there's actually a subplot where it turned out Jimmy double-crossed Frank and snitched to Howard Saint because due to gambling debts, but it was left out. I'm acting! Oop, you in big doo-doo this time, Mickey. Now, fun fact, Mickey Duca is based on Mickey Fondazzi. And Mickey Fondazzi debuted in Punisher Warzone #1, published in 1992, created by Chuck Dixon and John Romita Jr. Well, here's a funny fact. Thomas Jane kept his hair long and blonde after being cast as a Punisher for the scene where he played the mole at the beginning. That's a bullshit, man. No, we're gonna make it a closed cassette funeral. Now, Howard Saint is actually an original character for this film and didn't actually originate in the comics. Now, before John Travolta was cast as Howard Saint, Actors like Patrick Bergin, Billy Campbell, and Bruce Greenwood were considered for the role. Of course, when I found out that John Travolta was in this, I was kind of surprised because I associate John Travolta with films like Grease. That's how I became familiar with him. You're fired. You're fired again. Yeah, it would suck to work for Howard Saint. Hey, look, it's Princess Daisy from everyone's favorite Mario movie. Now, the Punisher movie was based on and influenced by Punisher Year One, Welcome Back, Frank. Marvel Preview presents The Punisher Number Two, Marvel Super Action featuring The Punisher Number One, Punisher War Journal, and Punisher Warzone. Now, Year One was published in 1994, written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, and illustrated by Dale Eaglesham. Welcome Back, Frank was published from April 2000 to March 2001, running for 12 issues, written by Garth Ennis and illustrated by the late Steve Dillon. And of course, Steve Dillon was the man when it came to drawing characters like the Punisher. And he really gave the Punisher a distinct style that kind of works. Yeah, famous last words. And you don't have to deal with zombies. Yeah, someday. Now, apparently, uh, both of Howard's sons were played by the same actor. And I'll have to comb his hair and tie his tie for his corpse. Ooh, that's not good. Aguadilla Bay. I wonder if his chant is ooh ee ooh ah ah ting ting walla walla bing bing. Now, the Castle family house in Puerto Rico is really restrooms and changing rooms located in Honeymoon Island State Park in Dundee, Florida. State parks adhere to strict rules about color of their buildings. The restrooms and changing room were repainted from their original gray to the color seen in the movie. They remained that color since the movie was released. Well, that's nice. Now, I did not know that Roy Scheider, who is best known for playing the protagonist in Jaws, because I know him best for Jaws, but I didn't know that he was in The Punisher playing Frank's father. What's even crazier is that the reason Roy Scheider got cast as Frank Castle Sr. is because, Jonathan Hensley and Roy Scheider were neighbors in real life, which is how Scheider got casted. Anyway, rest in peace, Roy Scheider. You're still missed, and you left us too soon. I liked him in Jaws. Woohoo! I'm so happy. Was he trying to go down? Well, that certainly won't come back to bite her in the ass. Whoops! I got sand in my trunks. Now, the Punisher movie was actually Marvel's first R-rated movie since Blade 2, which I didn't know. So we could die again. Sounds like a slasher movies in a nutshell. Bring me his head. Oof, that is ruthless and evil. I get such a hard on thinking about it. It's like, damn, these two are ruthless and clearly made for each other. In the comics, Frank's son is actually Frank Jr., and he even had a sister. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I actually thought that the whole how the origin of Punisher's symbol was because of this, but it wasn't actually. I know that's not the case, but I kind of like it. Kinda. I'm really on the fence about this movie, especially since I'm more in favor with the with Jon Bernthal's portrayal. Yeah, I said it, but I'm really gonna try my hardest to not compare the MCU with this. Also, here's a fun fact. A lot of Frank Castle's extended family are played by stunt people, which makes sense given the circumstances. In fact, the kids were also children of some of the stunt people, which shows their qualifications. Although I do wonder if after filming they just decided to stay at the place in Florida for a nice little vacation. You know what I'm saying? I really want to find out what the song is that's playing, because it's very catchy. And I'm always open to listening to reggae, if you catch my drift. Dun 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 dun. Okay, yeah, the Jaws reference is totally warranted since it does feature the main lead of Jaws. (1911). Oof, that's over 100 years. The compensator. Crikey, mate. Yeah, it kind of makes sense to cast stunt people for this scene. No Wilhelm scream? Surprise, mother yucker! Oof. Damn, that's ruthless. That's a waste of good salad. Wait, I swear the salad was blown up, and then the salad just magically refills itself. What's up with that? Whoa, he blew up a barbecue propane and blew the guy up. I mean, I know that guy looks like a stuntman and then a dummy eventually, but that is so cool. Yeah, that definitely. I really have to respect Jonathan Hensley for going practical for this when he couldn't do CG. I mean, that's very commendable on his part. Not a great plan. Man, Yeah, walk that off, bitch. Ah, surprise! Et tu, Brute? And this really makes me even more sad that Roy Scheider is gone. Rest in peace, Roy Scheider. You said it was a Jeep, but it's a Chevy. And please put on your seatbelt. Yeah, Ford versus Chevy. Typical. Dude, watch the speed limit, Maria. Uh-oh. Oof. Jeez, I hope Frank was insured. Quickly, get one of the one-up mushrooms. Okay, all joking aside, I mean, her acting, Maria Castle's actress. I mean, her acting is actually pretty decent in this scene, and she really does convey. She does convey a lot of fear and vulnerability in this scene, because she just wants to protect her son and her husband. Because all she wanted was to relax with her family, you know. And well, I may be a horror hound. I'm actually I do think having Maria and Will being run down off screen is actually a very tasteful decision. I mean, I'm okay. Sometimes less is more, and it works, and it actually adds to the tragedy, you know? Because, Frank just is losing his wife and son, which is a tragedy no one should ever have to endure, no matter what. And for the most part, this actually is a very well acted scene. I mean, Thomas Jane's acting is very good in this. Also, the reason Thomas Jane's thumb is discolored it isn't a story related thing. It is actually due to an injury. Hey, come back here, you squirry duck. Hey, what do you know? No more bullets.
No more bullets? Hey, laughing boy, no more bullets. No more bullets? Here, let me see that thing.
Hey, what do you know? There was one bullet left.
One bullet left? Hey, laughing boy, there was one bullet left.
Sorry, I know that's kind of mean, but it's dark humor. Did I hear some ribs cracking? Oh yeah, and of course that should have killed him. Hey, you look just like your brother. And somehow he survives this. Dude, you're wasting gas! In this economy, everyone would be after your ass for doing that. Gas does not come cheap, I tell you what. Ooh, this must be spontaneously combustible. Wait, he stood up for a moment, then he's back on the floor. And yeah, of course, he survives this, but. Yeah, it's again, continuity's a bitch. And I'm gonna be completely honest. Maria and Will's deaths were completely avoidable. If they had just stayed under the boat, they probably would have survived it, and probably would have found a way to reunite with Frank. I mean, this would make for an interesting what if story. Now, according to the Time Variance Authority and Marvel Wiki, the Punisher movie takes place on Earth 58732. What were the odds of that? What kind of uniform is that? See, I usually don't wear long sleeve shirts with shorts. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize that the actress that played Howard Saint's wife was in Little Nicky and was a model. It's like I remember seeing Little Nicky, and well, I feel like such an idiot for not recognizing her. Oh, that singer looks so uncomfortable on stage. Oh, but that is a nice smoking pipe. Yeah, something tells me Quentin is not good at dancing. And these Harry Winston earrings are not fake diamonds. Those are the real deal. They cost $1 million. And now I got something for you. And I'm gonna give you Snoo Snoo as a reward. Now, before he got his signature name, when Jerry Conway and Ross Andrew were envisioning Frank Castle as a villain for The Amazing Spider-Man, they originally envisioned the name The Assassin. Could you imagine if he made his debut as The Assassin? Would have been way too generic. It was actually Stan Lee who suggested the name The Punisher. And the name stuck. But, Stan Lee decided to not take credit for being a co-creator, unlike Roy Thomas. That says something. He's a very hairy man. Well, that must be candy glass, because I wouldn't do what Frank just did, breaking the glass to get all the guns, because, then I'd risk cutting my hand. What can I say except you're welcome? Now, the composer of this movie is Carlo Ciliato, who Hensley really wanted to collaborate with. And Ciliato is an Italian film composer who has been composing music since 1972. And he's done a lot of... composed a lot of movies for Italy, like a lot of Italian movies. But the last one he did so far was Miracles from Heaven, starring Jennifer Garner. Well, what are the odds of that? Now, shooting in Tampa was a double-edged sword for everyone on The Punisher. On one hand, the city's downtown area has no residential areas, so it would be completely emptied out by the end of the working day, ideal for a film crew. But the city is also prone to lightning storms that roll in suddenly and very violently. The summer that the film crew shot in Tampa was the city's wettest since 1890. And so we have Rebecca Romaine as Joan. It's like I didn't realize whenever I hear the name Rebecca Romaine, I think of her portrayal of the character Mystique. So I didn't even recognize her when I watched it when I was 14. Sounds like every video game YouTuber. I mean, he even acts like a YouTuber. Now that's the sound every incel on YouTube makes. Now, while it might seem like Joan, Bumpo, and Spacker Dave might have been made specifically for the movie, they actually made their comic book debuts in Welcome Back, Frank. The thing is, Bumpo and Spacker Dave look like they came out of an audition for a TV movie for Nickelodeon. I also think it's funny that Joan's clothes are all blue as a reference to Mystique. Now, the Punisher movie was actually one of the last movies released by Artisan Entertainment before merging into Lionsgate Entertainment. In fact, Lionsgate's purchase of Artisan occurred midway during production of The Punisher. Now, The Punisher wasn't the only Marvel character that Artisan owned the rights to at the time. Artisan also planned on making movies for Captain America, Black Panther, Black Widow, Deadpool, Iron Fist, Morbius, Longshot, Power Pack, Mort the Dead Teenager, Man-Thing, and Ant-Man. Yeah, friends on the other side. Are you ready? Yep, prepare to get roasted. More like enough to melt steel, like butter. He's telling the truth, he is not able. Yeah, when I was rewatching this, I thought that looks like a popsicle, and well, turns out he was interrogating the guy with a popsicle, tricksing him into thinking he's being burnt. Now, the house used as Howard Saint's mansion actually belonged to NBA player Matt Geiger at the time of filming. And surprise, it's a popsicle. Yeah, this whole interrogation with the popsicle was actually from a Punisher Warzone comic. I never would have guessed that. Well, that's an understatement. Now, Jonathan Hensley wasn't the only one that wrote this, as the film was co-written by Hulk co-writer Michael France, rest in peace, Michael France, and Michael Tolkien provided rewrites of the script. Though he was not credited in the film, he was credited in the official comic book adaptation. Who would have guessed? And this is actually Will Patton's second time playing a homosexual character. Now, other things that Michael Tolkien was known for writing were The Player, Deep Impact, Changing Lanes, Escape at Dannemora, and other stuff. But yeah. That's an understatement. Something tells me Frank does not like the Yankees. Do a barrel roll. Yep, doing dirty laundry. Hey, where's my chili? Seriously, when did this become a Three Stooges routine? Whoop, 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 whoop. That sounds like an ADR. Say hello to Pandemonium. It's raining money. Hallelujah. It's raining money. Amen. Hey, I'll dance with you. Also, this is the first time the Punisher actually wears his signature skull symbol, because in the Dolph Lundgren movie, he doesn't wear it. Why? I don't know. But it clearly shows that the producers of that film, of that version of the character, clearly had never read a comic book. Which isn't a surprise, because apparently back when Marvel was owned by New World Pictures, one of the people at New World thought that Marvel was associated with Superman. How could you be so stupid? Yeah, he said he'd dance with you. Oh, it's pizza time. Okay, so I did not know that the guy playing Spacker Dave was also Angel in X-Men The Last Stand. I mean, to be fair, he's very unrecognizable. I wouldn't have known, because he looks like Discount David Spade, at least in this one. I mean, seriously, why else would I make the Nickelodeon comparison? Need I say more? Now, originally, the Punisher was supposed to have a sidekick, David Lieberman, who's otherwise known as Microchip, an established character in the comics. But Jonathan Hensley wrote out the character because he had an intense dislike for the character. Now, in order to update the comic origin to present day, Frank Castle's military record was changed from Vietnam to the Gulf War, which makes sense. Also, this movie is the only Punisher film thus far where Frank Castle engages the murderers of his family rather than him tackling other foes after the genesis of him becoming the Punisher. Now, the beginning scene in the movie was originally intended to be a battle set in Kuwait during the First Gulf War, but the reduction in budget rendered that impossible. The scenes were later added to the extended cut of the movie, with the missing scenes being achieved through comic-style animation. Quite clever, actually. Now, for inspiration, Jonathan Hensley and his cinematographer Conrad W. Hall watched dozens of action films from the 60s and 70s, such as the Dirty Harry series, The Getaway, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Godfather, and Bonnie and Clyde. Ah, you're sending the Heckman. Oof. Now, the tenement building was located at the corner of North Nebraska Avenue and East Zack Street, directly across the street from the Tampa Amtrak station. It was a fairly well known local landmark due to its unusual shape, but has since been demolished. Yep, make like Jordan Peele and get out. Now, before choosing Tampa as the location to both film and set the movie, Hensley also considered places such as Biloxi, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, New Orleans, Louisiana, and Galveston, Texas. Now, the bourbon that Frank drinks throughout the film is Wild Turkey. Yeah, easy to not miss him. Yep, they'll kill other people. Now showing Buenos Dias Pablo. Huh. I wonder what Buenos Dias Pablo was like. Is it a real movie? Now I'm curious. Ugh, sorry, need to stretch. Yeah, apparently Jonathan Hensley had seen someone use a fake fire hydrant for parking purposes. In real life, that's where he got the inspiration. Such nice $1 million earrings. I actually thought this was a wiretapper. Wire bug. Yep, so Howard Glass doesn't know that Quentin Glass is gay. I thought he would have come out to him, but I guess not. I mean, I get it, I guess. Yep, now comes a few days of gaslighting. Yep, because Olivia loves going to the movies. Quite mistaken, it's not what it looks like. Yeah, I recognize Rebecca Romaine now due to her voice. I mean, I did recognize it in X-Men, but it's a very distinct voice. I never imagined she would be voicing Lois Lane in DC animated movies after this. Not that it's bad. She and her husband Jerry O'Connell have very good chemistry. Yep, Harry Heck. Now, Harry Heck actually does originate from the comics, and in the comics he's actually known as Harry Heck Thornton, but they shortened it to just Harry Heck to avoid confusion with actor Billy Bob Thornton. Smart decision, but apparently in the comics, Harry Heck is not a singer. Honestly, I don't know why he's singing in this. I guess maybe to provide music for the soundtrack. And two of them was like, what the hell's going on? Yep, Joan is shook. I want to play a game. Not very subtle. That is, if you will invite me to your funeral. The way he just sulks while eating his eggs. That is a mood right there. The fact that his car is called Year One is just a coincidence. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. Oh, that's not very nice, Mr. Guitar Man. Honestly, I actually thought that he hit the gun in his guitar. Well, the fact that that car was just practically done like that, that's cool. Frank Castle has to be immortal. How else can you explain him surviving all this and the hit on his life? Whoa! I'll admit that's actually pretty cool. But oh no, who's gonna sing at Frank's funeral now? Especially since he wrote that song for Frank, which is so affectionate. It's like, move it or lose it. You know, I would never believe that the co-writer of this co-wrote Hulk. I also probably wouldn't have believed if you told me that, you know, the director of this pretty much wrote Jumanji. You know what they say, truth is stranger than fiction. And he actually blew up a boat. I mean, it sure does beat CG. Okay, I'm gonna be brutally honest about the music. I mean, I dislike the music, especially the Punisher's theme song. It's like one of the biggest reason. I mean, seriously, the music is just all over the place. Some aspects of it belong in a generic romantic comedy, and the Punisher's theme song, it doesn't sound dark and tragic enough. I mean, it sounds more like it belongs in a cowboy western movie. It's like an adventure movie. It just belongs in a western or an adventure. It just doesn't belong in the Punisher, especially given the nature of the character. It doesn't sound dark and complex enough. It's just the music is definitely one of the worst aspects of this movie. I mean, I can see why Thomas Jane didn't like it. It sounds too dramatic. It sounds too adventurous. It just doesn't belong. It's like adding whimsical music to a dog peeing, which is what John Debney did for Bruce Almighty. Seriously, I just hate the music to Punisher so much. I don't like it. It's definitely my least favorite Marvel score, which says a lot. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rant. Doing a little dick measuring. And I can tell what a Cuban is. Because I've smoked Honduran cigars before. They are quite distinctly different from Cuban cigars. You sent it into Russian? Shit, man, that's all you had to say. Still can't believe that's Angel. And he's just waiting. It's like, let me change. Yep. Surprise, Frank! It's like he's looking at Spacker Dave like, you mother yucker. Yeah, Frank's so hungry he could eat a horse. Oh man, this scene is so weak. It's probably one of the weakest scenes of the film. I mean, I get that he's trying that the writer wants to establish a bond between these characters, but it really doesn't work for for the Punisher. It feels forced and kind of stupid. It would belong more in a generic family drama or some shit like that. It's dumb. And thanks for Mountain Dew. Yep. And we would be thankful if you ended the scene already. Nice Florentine. Well, that's my cue to exit the stage left. You know, it would be funny if it turned out Joan is actually Mystique in disguise. Trust me, if you went to middle school, it's quite easy. I think he was quite tempted. Try your luck with Verntessio. Yeah, try your luck with Verntessio or Superman. Mystique. I wonder what wild turkey tastes like. I'd probably mix it with soda, but that's me. Ugh. I do wonder if the guy playing Bumpo is a comedian, and I mean that unironically. I gotta give the Russian credit, he's quite patient. Whoa! Now, fun fact, the fight scene between the Punisher and the Russian actually took 2 days to film. And this isn't Kevin Nash's first comic book movie, as he played Super Shredder at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. What were the odds of that? Ah, damn. But yeah, John Pinette was a stand-up comedian. Okay, and here comes the funniest fact. In the now, it actually turned during the fight scene between Punisher and the Russian. Thomas Jane accidentally stabbed the Russian's actor Kevin Nash for real. Jane recalled Nash being really nice about the incident. He sat there, looked at the knife, looked at Thomas, and just shook his head. He accepted cold beers from the crew as compensation. But I can understand why Thomas Jane would feel so terrible about it. I can't help but laugh, especially at how nonchalant Kevin is. I mean, I respect the fact that he was willing to cut his hair for this. It's a shame that it's also pretty funny that a variant of the Russian appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine. Nice reference. Wow. Also, now the Russian also made his debut in Welcome Back, Frank as well, which explains how campy he looks. and in the comics, the Russian is actually a cyborg. And, okay, well, this whole fight scene with the Italian music, I mean, it pretty much defines the tone of the Punisher. You either love it or hate it, one way or the other. Yep. Cannonball! Fire in the hole! Oof. Dude crushed the gun with a weightlift. At least they were to decent enough to wait till the song ended. Now, the Russian's eyes were supposed to start bleeding when having all the hot water on his face, but the MPAA deemed that too violent, so it never it that didn't happen. Here, let's take the stairs. At least he's not a cyborg, otherwise you'd be in bigger trouble. But yeah, Bumpo's actor was John Pinette, who was a stand-up comedian and also a Broadway performer. And he was best known for impressions, among them Michael Jackson, the Chipmunks, Elvis Presley, Gollum, an Ewok, Marlon Brando, as well as a range of other regional accents. Dude was eccentric, and well, he definitely died too young. So rest in peace, John Pinette. Thanks for the laughter. Yep, that might have been the most useful thing that Spacker Dave ever did. That's enough. Yeah, it turns out she accidentally Rebecca Romaine actually accidentally sewed Thomas Jane's real body instead of the prosthetic, which definitely hurts. Yep. Yeah, look at that. That's the second most useful thing that's that Spacker Dave ever did. But yeah, the Russian also made his comic book debut in Welcome Back, Frank, and has even fought Spider Man. What could possibly go wrong? Pardon me, just doing a bit of charging. There we go. Well, technically, he would be saying shit if he answered him. Now, all the piercings that Spacker Dave's actor Ben Foster wears in the movie are all fake, except for the piercing on his eyebrow. That's an actual one. I'm not a fan of piercings. They just make me uncomfortable. Oof, the way he just studies that plier only adds to the intensity. Now they actually had to. They made a fake Pierce so that they wouldn't have to remove it, and it wouldn't. That way, Ben wouldn't be hurt in real life. Now, the costume designer for the Punisher was Lisa Tom Chezin. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, but Lisa has actually has been a costume designer not only for the Punisher but also for Elektra, and has worked in the costume department for the Suicide Squad, Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and the first Hunger Games and Mockingjay Parts 1 and 2. What were the odds of that? I never would have guessed she was even an assistant costume designer for Tropic Thunder and was the assistant costume designer for the first Spider Man movie. It's flake season. Thursday's movie night. Well, that should be a creative way to kill someone. Apparently, that was supposed to be a lot longer, but it was shortened, to keep the R rating. Oh man, that is so forced. Oh, don't say that in front of Dominic Toretto. That'll give him a hard on. Family, 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 family. That's the problem. I mean, Frank Castle is a straight up is a straight up cold blooded killer. Yep. Now the Punisher's vow is pretty much based on the comics from Punisher Warzone. Pronto. And he's willing to get the 10,000. What a nice fish tank. And so he falls for it. Now, fun fact, the scene where when Howard Saint visits Quentin Glass in his home at night was actually shot in the middle of the afternoon. The evening effect was achieved by tinting up the real-life house that was being used at Glass's home. Kind of reminds me of that one trick they did for Nope, where they filmed things in the day and then digitally altered it to look like night. Which is kind of cool. And he swears by it. Funny thing is, Will Patton is actually a stage actor. I think he was saying, "What the hell?" You were my brother, Quentin. I loved you. He's killing me! He's killing me! He's killing me! Still, it is interesting that Frank's tactic here is to gaslight Howard Saint into killing the people he cares about. I mean, that's cold blooded and quite smart too. It wasn't me. Howard Saint does not seem like a man who can be talked to in a rage. Mickey has a look on his face that says,
Ain't I a stinker?
"It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood." Honestly, it is kind of hard to feel bad for Olivia since she was the one who thought it would be great to kill the Castle family. Blood is on her hands, you know? We're using the stock sound effect. Whether she's pregnant, I don't know. Oh, hey Olivia, you got a train to catch. Sorry, I couldn't resist making that joke. Shaken, not stirred. Now, $50,000 in 2004 would be $84,647.70 today. Interesting. More like he pushed her to the train. And originally, Olivia was going to voluntarily do it herself, which is the most subtle way I can say it without getting demonetized. And this music. Stop making it sound adventurous and heroic. It doesn't fit the movie, especially after all the dark and intense scenes. It just feels like tonal whiplash. I mean, it would have benefited from dark and edgy metal music. I would have rather listened to that instead of this stupid, rejected Western music. Ugh. Too heroic, because remember, the Punisher is not a hero. Gotcha. You could give Hawkeye a run for his money. Now, the Saints and Sinners Club shootout between Frank Castle and Howard Saint's goons was originally longer, but was cut because of pacing and explicit bloodshed. The only two scenes that were altered because of the violence were the point-blank headshot featured blood squirting from the back of a thug's head. The scene in which a thug is dispatched by way of sawed-off shotgun was also cut. The original scene featured pieces of the thug being sprayed from his wounds. I kind of wish it was more bloody. I might even rent the director's cut just to see how good it is, if it's better. But yeah, definitely on the bucket list of things. Like, first I'd watch the director's cut to Daredevil, and then I'd watch the director's cut to, The Punisher. I think he killed Eddie. And they bought it. Enjoying that Honduran cigar? Surprise! I guess that champagne must be quite explosive. I mean, the problem with what Frank's wearing is that why doesn't he get some bulletproof Kevlar for his arms? That would make it a lot easier to fight in, you know? Also ensures he doesn't get stabbed, Well, his arms don't get stabbed too harshly. "'Tis but a flesh wound." Or should I say, "'Tis but a scratch." He would not make a good opera singer. Whoa! The way he just sticks it in his chin. I mean, that's so cool. That's not skipping, that's galloping. Boomy time. Apparently, this was at the whole explosion was filmed at a Bank of America, and because it wasn't really given to anyone's attention, people that saw the explosion started calling 911 because they were like, what's going on? Definitely a cruel way to kill someone. Hey, hey, Frank sends his regards. Finally, the hero and villain meet. Russell! And this is the only, yeah, like I said, this is the first time we finally see them interact with each other. Yep, I'd say that makes you even. Even so, I mean, Bobby's death wasn't on Frank. It wasn't intentional. Shit happens, you know? But that one was definitely, but, Bob is like, the other Saint kid, his death was intentional. Of course, he had it coming. Yep, taunt your enemy while he's down. And who says you get to rest in peace? This may be humiliating for Howard Saint, but not as humiliating as Battlefield Earth. I guess I must have put it on neutral. Given John Travolta's tenure for overacting, you would think he would think of a better death scream. Because it's kind of an underwhelming death scream. I mean, where's Frank Welker for a death scream when you need one? When you need him, I mean. Boomy, it's the signal of the Punisher. Yep, Frank Castle, you just killed the man responsible for the death of your family, along with the rest of his goons. What are you going to do now? Probably not go to Disneyland. Ugh, hold on, need to stretch. You know, if I had a nickel for every time Thomas Jane played a character that contemplated wanting to commit sewer slide, I would have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange that it's happened 3 times. Third time was in The Mist. Only reason he didn't go through with it was because he was out of bullets. But this is like divine intervention on Maria's part? Yep, something nice. Okay, that's actually a cool line. Sorry. Hey, look at that. We're in the money. Yatta money. Now, the director did not want any superhero music for the ending scene where Frank is on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge making his vows to Punisher, because the Punisher is not a superhero. I mean, that's a very smart idea, because without the music, it's definitely much more intense and perfect. And roll credits! But yeah, that's the Punisher. I mean, it's not as terrible as other films like Morbius or Madam Web. I mean, for a directorial debut, it's pretty decent and passable. I mean, I actually feel bad for Hensley because he said he vowed to never make comic book movies after this due to being unable to please anyone. I mean, I totally get it. I mean, yeah, it has aspects that really don't work, but there are some good, passable moments, and when it gets practical, I have actually respect it for staying in a practical state, and, well, if you really want to watch a better iteration of Thomas Jane's Punisher, I would recommend watching the Laundry Day short that he stars in. To me, that is an official sequel to The Punisher. I personally think that it's passable. I mean, it's okay. I mean, if I had nothing else to watch, I mean, I might just watch it and just have some fun. But anyway, that's my commentary to The Punisher 2004. Hope you enjoyed listening to it. The fact that I was able to get it done while due to it being unavailable on streaming is practically a miracle. This is why you should appreciate physical media. And if you want to rent a DVD, go rent a DVD. That's how I was able to watch The Punisher. But anyway, thank you for listening to my commentary on The Punisher 2004. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.